They sent me to shut the station down. The fourth night, the radio said my name. By morning, it knew when I would die. The station at Cape Hollow had been listening since 1953, and in October of '91, the ministry decided it had listened long enough. They sent me to switch off the gear. 3 days' work, the letter said. I was 38 years older than that letter assumed. I drove up from Hull on a Tuesday. The road runs out 2 miles short of the Cape. After that, it is wet shale and a gull track, and the hut sits on a fold of cliff where the wind has nowhere to go but through you. Inside, a Marconi receiver as tall as a man, 2 Eddystones from the late 50s, a Bakelite intercom, and a wall of logbooks. Neat, dated, unread for 12 months. The wireless gear was meant to be dead. The mains had been cut at the road box in March. Whatever you brought into Cape Hollow had to run on the diesel generator out back, and the generator had not been touched since the last operator left. I plugged my headphones into the Marconi out of habit. Old habit, the kind that does not ask your permission, and the dial was warm. The set was on a frequency it had no business being on, 4625 kilohertz, the buzzer. If you were ever a listener, you'll know that number, the Russians. A short, dull tone every 2 seconds, day and night. It is supposed to come from a transmitter near Moscow that has never gone quiet for longer than an hour, not from a hut in Yorkshire. I told myself the set had drifted. Old valves do that. I marked it in the log, 4625 kilohertz, anomalous, investigate, and went to bed. The second night, the buzz stopped. I noticed because I had grown used to it. You do not hear a thing like that. You hear the absence of it. I came out of the bunk in my socks. The Marconi's tuning lamp was amber. The dial had not moved. A voice came through, Russian. A woman, I thought, though afterwards I was not sure. She read a string of 5-digit groups in the cadence those broadcasts always used. Flat, patient, almost bored. I wrote them down. Then she stopped and said one word in English with no accent at all. Hollow. The name of the station. It was not in any document I had been given. Hollow was a name only the men who had worked there used among themselves, and most of those men were dead. The third night I tried not to listen. I packed crates. I unbolted the Eddystones, wound their cables, labeled them. I left the Marconi for last because I was afraid to put my hands on it. At 2:20 in the morning, the buzzer started again, a different rhythm, slower, heavier, like a pulse. Then the woman read 3 numbers and a name, 286, Wallace. My given name is Wallace. My mother is the only person who ever used it. She died in '74. I sat on the floor and listened to a voice that had never met me say my mother's pet name for me 4 times with the patience of something that had all the time in the world. The 4th night I found the logbook. It was wedged behind the Marconi under an inch of sea damp. Not a ministry book, those are blue cloth. This one was black. The handwriting on the first page I knew at once, though I had never seen it before. It was the same hand that had signed every entry in the Black Reef logbook my grandfather kept when he was a young keeper. The same loops, the same little uphill drift on the letter G. My grandfather had never been to Cape Hollow. He died in 1949. The entries in the Black Book were dated, but the dates were wrong. They started in October of 1991, the week I had arrived, and they ran forward, past the day's date, a week ahead, 2 weeks. The last entry was dated the 11th of November and read in that same uphill hand, W came back to the set. He is talking to it now. He will let it in. I did not let it in. I want that on the record. I unplugged the Marconi at the wall. I cut the aerial down with bolt cutters. I poured the last of the diesel on the generator pad and walked away from a fire that did not need me to start it. The hut burned for about an hour. I watched from the cliff path. I walked the 2 miles back to the car at first light. The radio in the dashboard came on by itself before I had turned the key. 4625, the buzz steady, 2 seconds on, 2 seconds off. And underneath it, very faint, a woman's voice saying my mother's name for me, slowly, patiently. Like she was reading from a page that still had pages left in it. I have not turned a radio on since. I do not own a television. But sometimes, late, I'll catch the kettle hissing in a pattern I do not like, or a gull on the cliff calling in a rhythm that is not a gull's. 2 seconds on, 2 seconds off, the space between getting shorter. It is closer this winter than it was last winter. I do not think it has very far left to go.